Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. I did a video on this earlier and I'm doing another one now. Is the VA making it harder or going to make it harder to get your claims not only approved but rated at the appropriate level up front? A bill is pointing to that, and this bill is the Veterans Benefits Improvement Act of 2024, just signed into law on Christmas Eve. And I want to go through this with you. But before I do, I want to throw on a very special thank you to Robert Bentoncourt 1386. Robert Bentoncourt, thank you so much for that super chat, super comment. I really do appreciate your generosity. Thank you so very much for your support. Really, at the end of the day, I appreciate it. Robert Bentoncourt 1386. Thanks again. And I appreciate your comments and your continued support. Thank you. All right, so jumping back into this, what we're looking at here is the Veterans Benefits Improvement Act. And there's some specific language in there that could point to the VA essentially eliminating disability questionnaires from public reach. So, gone would be the days of you being able to pull down a public-facing DBQ, take it to your doctor, have them complete it, file that along with your claim, to help combat the extremely short and inefficient C&P examination that you may face, right? So nobody's going to know you better than yourself and your primary doctor for that condition, right? A C&P examiner who sees you for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, an hour if it's mental health or whatever, they're not going to know you at the same level as your doctor that you've been seeing for however long, right? Years or multiple appointments. So with that, I'm going to dive into the bill here first, read the beginning part, and then kind of talk through it. I'm not going to read the whole bill. I did read the kind of the one pager in the last video. If you want to go to that, please do. I'm just going to kind of stop where the meat is on this for us specifically. So this just passed. This is law. The bill addresses certain requirements related to Department of Veterans Affairs medical disability examinations, C&Ps, right? So in your C&P exam, they're essentially filling out a DBQ for you, right? So that's kind of, have that in mind. So they're talking about this whole process. So medical disability examinations for purposes of benefits claims and other administrative matters related to the benefits claims process and personnel. First, now this is the first thing that they're talking about, and it's right up in your face. So stick with me. First, the bill updates procedures related to the publishing of VA disability questionnaire forms. So the fact that they're able to publish those forms online for you to access. So updates procedures related to the publishing of VA disability benefits questionnaires forms. Kind of stumbled through that, but you get it. Specifically, the VA does not have to publish certain forms if it determines the form could not reasonably be completed to a clinically acceptable standard by someone who is not an employee or contractor of the VA. So, now this is interesting because there is some gray area in there, right? You would think that a medical provider, your medical provider who is not a VA employee and who is not a contractor of the VA, would be able to complete a DBQ to a clinically acceptable standard. However, it's if the VA determines the form could not be reasonably completed. Now, how would they do that? They would say, well, the medical provider who is not a contractor and is not an employee is not trained up and does not understand the rating schedules and what we're looking for, and therefore they're not going to complete the form to the extent that we need it completed to make an appropriate decision. So therefore, we're going to pull down those forms. Now, it might be a stretch. They may or may not take them down, but it definitely opens up the door. I saw some comments on other social media type sites, including Reddit, talking about this specifically. And I will tell you that back when I was a veteran service officer running a team, this actually happened. It happened while I was in that role, and the VA did remove disability questionnaires from public view. And this was back in 2020, and I will tell you, there was some big uproar from the community, whether it was the veteran service officers or the associations or the organizations, the veteran service organizations out there as well, that jumped up and down regarding the potential or the actual realization of the disability questionnaires being pulled down. Now, why are disability questionnaires important? Let's talk about that for a minute. The first thing is, so I'm going to talk about two things for those that still hung on. Two things. One, why are they important? And is it the end of the world if they get removed? Okay. And you don't have access to them anymore. So the first thing is, yes, they can be important. They're a tool. They are a tool, just like having a doctor complete out a nexus letter with solid rationale. The DBQ forms, they're blank forms, right? It's just standardized, and it allows a doctor to put in information in some sort of a fluid way for the VA to understand what they're looking at. And ideally, this is the important part, garbage in is garbage out. So ideally, you as the patient brought with you the schedule of ratings for your specific condition and said, hey doc, this is the type of stuff they're looking for. Can we make sure that we implement that in here and address these things? Because the DBQ at the end of the day is going to help you get the appropriate rating, because it's talking about your signs and symptoms and duration, the severity of your condition. A nexus letter is talking about the service connected aspect or secondary connection aspect if you're linking a secondary condition to a primary. So two different tools for two different reasons. So yes, it is important, and DBQs are important and can be very helpful because it really focuses in on what matters. Again, garbage in, garbage out. So it gives you the template. You still need to put in the information. If your doctor can't, doesn't, won't, or you can't describe it right, AME, American Medical Experts, can do it for you. They're board certified doctors, and what they do is they do evidence, nexus letters, diagnosis, DBQs, all of that stuff for veterans who are working with the VA, so they understand what information the VA is looking for. So it takes the think out of it for you and makes it easy. Check them out. They're in the link, the description. The link is in the description and in the comments. Free consultation. At the end of the day, get information, make an informed decision instead of not, right? I mean, the other way doesn't make sense. So just get information. You don't need to move forward with anything. Now, what happens if they do eliminate and remove these disability questionnaires from the public-facing view, and now you no longer have access to them? Okay, it's not the end of the world. This is what I would do if I were filing a claim without access to DBQs. One, if I needed a nexus letter, number one, right? If you need to prove your nexus and you don't have solid evidence of it being in service, I would absolutely get a nexus letter, because that's going to help button that up. DBQ-wise, working on my evidence for my rating, I would make sure that I go through my rating schedule for my specific condition, and then I would make sure that I articulate that with my doctor and make sure that that information gets embedded into my medical records in my most recent visits with an S. In addition, if my doctor can, right, if my private doctor can do it, I'm going to ask them for a letter detailing out the severity of my my condition with all the bells and whistles as far as the different signs and symptoms, durations, the severity, right? All of that stuff. The stuff that's in the DBQ. I would have them write that in their letter and sign off on that. I would also, if my condition was static, if I've had that same level of severity for 5 years or more, I would ensure that my doctor also talks about that and have them put that in that letter as well. Again, if your doctor can't, won't, doesn't, whatever it is, talk with AME, because this is what they do. They help veterans win claims with solid medical evidence at the end of the day. So with that, thank you so very much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.